How's it going, everybody? Katha here. Welcome back to Pokemon Freedom. It's been about 2 months since the last update. My apologies for that. And lagging still continues with using OBS with this in Unity for some reason. I didn't mean for it to be 2 months. And I also kind of wanted this to be out last week, but I got sick again. And this is not great. So if I sound slightly different, that will be why. Anyway, as the title suggests, we're going to be going over the water and mechanics, how I have set that up, as someone asked about it in the one of the previous episodes. Don't remember the exact number right now. So yeah, pretty much just going through that and code. So it's going to be semi-tutorial based. I'm just going to go through the code of what I've got and show it off. A little bit more detail. If more tutorialness is required, I can try to make a proper tutorial for it. It's just, I will have to make a new project and whatnot, so it'll probably just take me a little bit of time. Anyway, I've marked out all the things I need to talk about, so we will just go through this. So it starts as normal. I have getting my input, which if you are new to Unity, this would be weird. But anyway, I'm going to gloss over some things, other things not so much. So we got input, nothing fancy about that. Then we jump into a giant if statement, which could also be a switch case, which I have inside some of these, which is just for going up against my different states that we can be in. And for swimming, we go into a swim movement, which is pretty much just setting the rotation for the swimming, similar to what the flying movement was, just taking a lot of stuff out and added in that my Y speed, which is my gravity, slowing it down to 0 with my little handy function here. So above 0, below 0 go, nope, that's the other way around, because it's written there backwards. I'm confusing myself. Above 0 go down, below 0 go up. Don't know how you're missing that value as well, but that's fine. And then I just add this thing at the end, which is just doing the absolute value of the changed value that we have. And if it gets below 0.01, we just set it to 0. That way it doesn't go on indefinitely pretty much. After we have what would be our swimming, this is when I should also state this is when we're under the water. I might be going a little bit out of water, but I'm also just going top to bottom. So before we're even swimming, this is more or less if we're falling, or any other state that isn't previously mentioned above, and we is water, we're doing a raycast downwards from our bottom of our player, going down just infinitely and looking for you could either do this, technically this part here doesn't need to be here, you could do this through a layer. I've just already set it up with a tag, so I've just done it that way. And this is supposedly the best way, with .tag equals is supposedly the quickest way to search for a tag. I was supposed to mention something in the previous episode and I forgot, and I'm not going to remember. I remember now, but I'll talk about it later, if I remember. And we're just setting an animation bool value bool in our animation dive to true. Again, more of that later. I've also added more animations, which is nice. Which just makes swimming easier to follow. Anyway, in gravity, I'm basically just making sure that Y speed is 0. Although I don't even know if this gets called anymore. I know this one here doesn't. Or this one has no effect. Because I changed my movement. Instead of going like up and down, you basically just go on the forward, which is basically the way flying works. Might make more sense if I show you. I could have shown you first, but I should have actually done that. Anyway, we just have a little a bool here to say whether or not we've gone underwater. Keep tracking of it here. And if we are above the water's position, We are going to go in here, otherwise we're under it. We want to go, just don't want Y speed to go greater than 20. Again, I think this is redundant, so don't worry about that. Otherwise, yeah, we're floating on top of the water and we don't want to go down any further. So we set Y speed to 0. And we set our position to be on the surface level of the water. That's what this value is here. And that comes from somewhere else, which we'll get to. I'm doing this way out of order. Apologies if people are confused. And then we also have our actual normal rotation. So there's two forms of rotation. One for the camera, and then one for the rotating of the actual character itself. This one here is more for the camera in a way, aligning to the camera. So for flying and swimming, at the moment I have the camera snapped to behind the player, and this just gets that rotation amount, or addition if you move the camera. Don't think we work on this stuff, my bad. And then we just standard rotation. Again, I'm just going through everything that is in correlation to swimming. I probably could have left that out. And setting speed is basically the same as I've done it everywhere else in terms of walking and flying. Looking right here. And I've just got a swim speed variable, run speed variable. This is just a fancy if statement put in one line. And then my actual speed here is made up of two fancy if statements. This one getting the speed, and this one's getting the input. Depending on whether or not we're floating on top of the water, we want to just move around like normal. Otherwise, we want to move forward with the press of a button. That's all that does. Now this little addition to my get new forward up function, terrible name, is just this little bit up here. Is that so if we're not grounded, which I also threw into a variable rather than calling it every time I needed it, we just set our calculated forward, which is normally done by all my raycasts at the feet, getting their combined up direction, doing a fancy thing here. We change that instead of being to the calculated one to just being the transforms normal forward. Just helps with partial bugginess that is currently happening, or half of it anyway. And you have swim movement, which we saw before, which is our rotation. And when we are falling or landing, I have a check for, it's normally for just landing. But if we are a type of underwater, well, basically if we're searching to whether or not we need to dive or not, and that's just setting that false if we're landing here, otherwise it's true up here. Again, another raycast, we're making sure that we're not grounded. We are falling greater than 10, which I double check over here for 40. Otherwise the animation kind of triggers a little bit earlier. It still does. Tweaks still need to be made, but we just do a raycast downwards. And this time looking for the ground layer. And I believe I threw the water tag. Yep. Here looking for the water tag as well as the ground layer. Because you can't look for the other without going into the other one. What? That's that. But the real magic happens pretty much down here for on trigger enter and on trigger exit. Making sure that we're checking that the collider that we're going with is a water, which, as I said earlier, there is a better way, slightly quicker way to check this, which I just haven't changed. Just again checking if we are going below 40 downwards for gravity reasons. We'll go straight into the swim, otherwise we will float. Have to do an update here with which way the up direction is, and I will show that in a small moment. And we store our water surface transform, the thing that we're colliding with in here, which was found, moved back up, which is what we were using with setting the position. So now you know where we got that from. And just our jump forward boost gets set to 0 for reasons. So that's on the entering of it. More or less, you're going to be floating. But on exit, we've got two ways to exit. We've either exit above the box, or we're going below the box. The way I have it set up is, we'll just quickly show off the box before I forget about it. So at the moment, I just have this very, hopefully you can see it, thin box here that just encompasses the bottom part of the lake. There we go, so it's very thin. And if we are going out and above it, I'm doing this backwards. Okay, out and above it, we are basically, pretty much we're on the water surface and we're jumping. So that's the only way to get out at the moment. And so we'll be entering the jump state and no longer under the water or in the water. Get rid of the reference. And a function I have here is camera set locks. Quickly jump into that. It just changes our, up here as well with release locks, set locks. Sets our pitch min and max, so we can sort of freely look around. Well, in this case, stop us freely looking around. And if we were to go under the water, we go into the swim state and unlock the camera. So let's jump in. Let's swap over to a controller because it just makes it a little bit easier to control. And I will jump in. We have one new animation. It's going to freak out a little bit here because I still have to tweak the camera. And we have our little swimming animation. So I have, we'll just jump back out. Yeah, there's the finickiness of it. So one thing that I've had the issue with, as I was sort of half explaining before, is floating above the ground, but that's not what I'm talking about. If I walk in the water here, just walk this way. Well, that's one thing that I didn't want to happen. Come on, do the thing. Well, technically it did do the thing. So my speed gets dropped for whatever reason. Notice how slow we're moving. And if I hold like the sprint trigger key, doesn't matter. You can see the animation's playing faster, but we're not going any faster really. If I jump into the water, however, go back up to the top, we are moving at the speed we're supposed to be moving at. I just turn on gizmos, a whole bunch of things show up. If you pay attention to all my lines at the bottom here, the ones that are going upwards, excuse me, the two green ones at the back and the two blue ones at the front, notice how they, when we were going in, but you know, they're my alignment tools pretty much. For whatever reason, oh, it's doing it again. Everything's breaking. For whatever reason, something to do with falling in and aligning to the side there stops me from going fast. Like something like it I don't know. Just something's weird. Like the direction that I'm moving is not the direction I'm shown that I'm moving, or something like that. It baffles me. I don't understand because I don't see the difference between falling in and jumping in. But yeah, that's pretty much how this is working. Pretty much have it set up to, I don't know what I did then, but it worked. But yeah, I pretty much got it set up so you're using a trigger box to determine whether or not you're in the water. Boosh. You may or may not have got it. So this is the swimming at the moment. I'm going to turn these gizmos off because they take up a lot of the screen. And at the moment, yeah, underwater I've got it tied to a button, because otherwise I don't know how I would really go up and down unless it was the triggers. Or for keyboard and oh, I made a mistake. At the moment, turn the cameras back on. The moment this box like breaches, but touches the box here. I think I click, yeah. Not that you can see it. But it's the trigger box. We get bounced up, and it's really annoying. I'll be honest. Oh, I clicked the other thing. Need to click in this window. There we go. Whatever reason, that's just how it works, and then it freaks out. And then occasionally we become a land shark and swim on the land. But yeah, I think I've gone through that. I probably haven't gone through that exceptionally well. My apologies. Yeah, it's not that I'd say swimming systems aren't all that hard. It's just this thing needs a clean. Very much so. Like, this should not all be in one script. I mean, it can be. It is. But doesn't mean that it necessarily should be, though. And at the moment, flying looks a little bit like this. And will reorient itself back. I don't remember what I went through in the last episode. I probably should have looked at it, but I didn't. I think I've tweaked this a little bit since that one. The other thing, though, that I fixed and I forgot to mention last time, was probably even 2 episodes ago, is that if we can get it to happen, I fixed it so that they don't all blink at the same time if they're the same Pokemon. There we go, I got one to blink. And it wasn't me. I can remember what that is. Is it in here? I don't even know where it's got to be in here because it's blinking. So that's not where it is. I'm trying to find something I did about over 2 months ago. This is not going to go well. I think it's the renderer. Yeah, eyes offset. Underscore renderer materials. I think it was the way that we set it, if I remember. Think about it, children. Renderer. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's something to do with the way you set it. I don't think I was doing it this way before. And it was just, I just had a reference to the material instead of the renderer. Or something like that. Or I was changing it in the wrong way. Yeah, I'm not sure. You guys may or may not be able to go back and find out where that was. Or what it used to be. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the semi-tutorial. I'm just going over things. But essentially, it's just getting a trigger box set up correctly. I actually could. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted. I was going to add a mesh renderer to the box, but that's not really much point in me doing that. Just making sure it's a trigger box, not a collision box, otherwise you won't be able to go into the thing. But yeah, another way you could do the box thing is, instead of it being, I suppose it depends on what you need. If you want to be able to go under the water or not. But you could, instead of just doing it a thin layer, you'd have the box, I want the size, just encompass like the entirety of the area that you need it to be. So it's like once you're in the box, you're swimming. When you get out of the box, you'll be on land. Yeah, that's about everything. Probably the last thing I should do is probably go into the animator for Golduck, because I have changed that a little bit. So now he's sort of just get you to be a little bit bigger. Oh boy, I didn't mean to click it. I was trying to make it a little bit small. No, okay. I just got him going between the 2 forms of idols, which is underwater and then floating. And then he just uses the same swimming animation. Whoosh. For both underwater and above the water. I do need to move it just a little bit because you would have noticed, as you may or may not have noticed, when you're swimming on the top of the water, if we can just, he's a little bit too much under the water. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Not really, but it doesn't not make sense, I suppose. You can see the little bit of an issue there with the getting out of the water a bit. He starts to dive. That's why I had the -40. I might have to up that even more. But again, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you're able to get stuff out of that. Again, if not, let me know and I can try and do an actual proper tutorial. Although I won't be using these guys as animations, movements, animated characters. There we go. I'd probably just use a cylinder, a capsule. That one. That's the one. Won't be nothing visually fancy, but it'll get the point across. And also, I'm not using, as with the walking on the land, I'm actually just using normal movement velocity systems for these guys in the water and flying. They're not being moved by animations. That's why they actually have, where to click on you, like not you, resources, and click on you. They actually have more variables now of actual swim speed and actual jump. Would offset, that's not used anymore, but I had a little bit of an issue earlier of they were using the run speed as their jump forward movement. So now I've got that here under a fancy tick box, which meant that when I was jumping forward, he slowed down now because I've reduced the thing, but I don't know, it's finicky, but I had it where, because I've just been using Golduck the entire time, I jump from here to the other Umbreon. That's not what you're supposed to do. Anyway, guys, that's going to have to do it for today. Again, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you got something out of it. I ramble too much. And just, let me know if more is required. Anyway, that's all. And I shall see you guys next time, which hopefully isn't as long. I will try my best. Anyway, guys, until next time, bye.